Am I the a-hole for kicking my wife out of the house for going through her phone and finding out how she talks about me with others? My 34M wife, 34F, have been married for 7 years, together for 16, and have a toddler, 21 months old. This is my side of the story. I was born and raised as an expat, very different from my parents' country of origin. After my dad resigned from a well-paying job because of his ego when I was 3 years old, ever since then we struggled with money, but my parents did their best to raise me and my sister and give us good education. I'm the eldest and was always the rebellious, spoiled type. For my undergraduation, I went back to my parents' home country, since it was not affordable here, and there I met my now wife. We always had an on-off, love/hate relationship and never lived together as well. 1 year of our relationship together when we broke off, she then went ahead and got committed into a relationship with my then best friend in the university, when I was back visiting my parents back home during summer vacations. This shook me to my core and I cut off all communication with any of them. Many of my friends, who were also my classmates, were more approving of their relationship than of mine, and then things went on and they broke up a few months after, but I never got back with my wife back then until the last year of the university, and after graduating, I was going back home to look for a job and start there. After a few years we reconnected again when time healed me and got engaged 2 years later and married 2 years after engagement. In this time I was carrying on a job and helping my parents with the money, living with my parents as well, as I didn't want to separate them, seeing how small our family, even though my dad wanted me to separate after wedding. And putting my sister through medical school. My mother and my wife never liked each other from the beginning, and during our wedding ceremony my mother also created a lot of drama, for which I despise her a lot deep down, as I was not raised like that by them. I was never good with money, had racked up debt on credit cards, as I was giving all my salary to my parents and living off on USD $133. I'm very much introverted in nature, get crippling anxiety outside and can't confidently talk to people outside, and never have lived with relatives or know how is it like. I have a very small group of friends, 3 to 4 people in total, and we were the only ones to hang out with each other. Once everyone was married, our wives became friends as well, since they also came leaving their families in their home countries. The problem that I had observed over the years with my wife was that she always compared me with everyone else, be it my friends, or anyone else, in regards to money or anything else. The country we live in has a fees of sorts to keep families with you, and juggling rent, responsibilities and everything. I was accruing debt on credit cards that I was unable to pay off and getting loan from banks to pay them off, only to accrue again due to unforeseen circumstances. During COVID, my wife was back home with her parents, since the visa was still not processed for her, and in this time, be it stress, genetics, or just bad luck/happenstance, I got 2 heart attacks. One was minor that went undiagnosed as acid reflux, but for the second one, I was taken to ER and had to undergo angioplasty. My wife was not here that time and has not seen me in that condition and how badly this affected me and my mental health. Fast forward to when my wife took up a job 2 years ago and I only asked her to contribute to the fees and half the rent, as I wasn't making much, and I took back control of my salary from my mother. My parents shortly after went to live with my sister overseas, so now we were all alone in the house. My wife continued her job, whatever she earned was her own money, and I never intervened or did anything to undermine her or to take control of whatever she was earning or how she was using it. When she became pregnant, during the last trimester, she then resigned from her job, which was fine with me as I wanted her to not stress and work and just look forward to welcoming our child. Things happened to a point that I had to leave my job and found another one in a different city than my hometown, and we had to move. Our child was only 3 to 4 months old back then. The move was very sudden and I had no savings, so we borrowed some amount from wife's aunt, relevant, who also lived overseas, as well as me borrowing money from different friends as well. Before the move, I went through another angioplasty due to chest pain and finding another blockage. Instead of recovering, I kept traveling however I could to another city to find an apartment so that we can move before the joining date for the new job. The apartment rents were through the roof in this city, costing nearly double or triple of what I was paying back in my hometown for either the same space or smaller space in bad conditions. Nevertheless, found one that I thought was good enough and we moved. The apartment was bad, literally quite bad. There was a main hospital on the main street. The apartment was inside the area, but the main street was kind of near, and there was always noise of ambulances and whatnot, as well as the apartment condition was quite bad. The caretaker assigned by the owner promised that before my move he would fix everything, even paid him the amount, but nothing was taken care of except repainted. Me joining the new job also started off as rocky, with the company having a new project with limited experience in. I ended up working endless hours, sometimes until 3 a.m. from the office, and even working from home at times after that. All this along with the move to the new city, my wife going through postpartum, apartment's condition, no friends for both of us in this new city, took an insane amount of toll on my mental health and my wife's. The next few months went the same way. My wife was a som taking care of our new child. I never learned how to cook, except instant noodles, and we were just always having takeouts, and I was just struggling to pay off all the debts one by one. It hit a point where living in the apartment in that condition became unbearable and a safety hazard. The building was equipped with a lift, and whenever it was used, the whole apartment used to have vibrations. I somehow managed to snag my wife back to her parents and told her that once I find another apartment I would call them back. Until then they can rest and stay there, and also that my wife has some mental peace. My wife got tired of takeouts and tried to cook for herself. She was a good cook before for someone who has never cooked before marriage, but since I was a picky eater, I decided that to not burden my wife more, I would just keep getting takeouts for myself until I learned to cook myself, which I still can never find the time to do, and that my wife, already busy with our child, would have less burden and can spend more time taking care of the child. But this also never happened, as most of the time I would always see my child with long-grown fingernails, to which whenever I talked to my wife about said that the child never lets her clip them. Okay, what about keeping clean by regular baths? Also nothing. It was either once a week or once per 2 weeks, citing that it is cold. The temperatures here in this city do drop, but we had water heaters in both the old apartment and new apartment. After 2 months of searching, I was able to find an apartment, where we are living now, at even higher price, but the location, the neighborhood, and the condition all were optimal, and I pulled the trigger on it by taking on another loan from a loan company to pay the rent in advance. At this point I should mention that I was giving my wife fixed allowance from my salary so that she could do whatever she wanted with it. She decided that she would invest this money in a joint committee amongst known people to have a big amount early on, and I never had a problem with it. The problem comes that whenever I was struggling financially and asked my wife if the amount she has can help out at the time in order to avoid taking any loan, she would always start screaming and insulting me and started comparing me with others, and saying that the amount she has saved is for our child, and I would just then stop and stay silent. This happened a few times. At this time I was still paying off debts of others that I borrowed, including the aunt, to whom I paid a lump sum amount first and was still left with a sizable amount, but she said to return when I can, as she was not in a hurry. The aunt got a job in the country we are living in and was also in the process of moving here, and I plan to return her back slowly once she gets here. My wife had a good amount of saving from her job that she did for a year back in her home country, as she would always send her full salary, minus half the rent and fee, there, and then a few months back suggested that she will use that money to pay back the aunt and I'm to pay her the amount I was planning to pay the aunt monthly. I agreed. The aunt and my wife's family also never liked me, but never showed. When the aunt moved here, they would frequent our house and I had no qualms about it, since I was happy that at least one of us has any relatives here and my wife can finally talk to someone in her own native/tribal language. This aunt also always saw me as a driver for pick and drop all the time, as an administrative assistant to do everything, and I, no matter how tired, complied as to not cause any rifts between her and my wife. My wife and my sexual relations are non-existent, with no intimacy at all. Whenever I try to be romantic, I always get shot down, and the last time we had sex was months ago when we were visiting my hometown during a short vacation trip, and that encounter happened after nearly 2 years. Recently, for a few days we had been arguing. It was about money again. The apartment I'm in has a rental contract every year, and the broker who is the agent to handle informed me that the rent will go up by 21%. The apartment was already extremely expensive, but I somehow managed to pay the rental increase as well and was left with nothing. I'm still not paid my salary. The company I work with, I'm hired through their subcontractor, and they never have a fixed date to pay, and I was literally broke. I still managed to celebrate her birthday with aunt and cousin and gave her a gold bracelet by putting it on an already exhausted credit card, thinking that these moments of happiness will not come back, but money will. There is a festival upcoming and my wife wanted new clothes for our toddler. She already got a dress for herself from her allowance. And I told her that okay, she should decide what she wants and I will order online. Since the country and many stores have moved to online shopping for a wide variety of selection, this happened a few days ago. She selected some but was unsure and wanted to visit an outlet to select. I was okay with it, and for online delivery there was also a cutoff date that if passed, it will not make it before the festival. I informed her that, and that the outlets may have limited selections available. She didn't respond. We visited the outlet 2 days back and the same thing happened. So we ended up buying from a different store, some non-traditional dresses. Today I woke up from a bad dream of my wife cheating on me. I know, a cliché and a dream. But I demanded to see my wife's phone since she was always on the phone, either talking to her sister back home or to aunt, and would spend most of the time on it, and I would always come back home from work, spend all the time with our toddler playing or keeping the toddler occupied so as to my wife would have some moments of rest. After all this I would then look for some personal time to unwind by watching something on TV or playing a game, and that too would mostly get interrupted, and with so many things on my mind would also not let me watch or play with ease. She was angry and reluctant but unlocked the phone and gave it to me. I went to the other room. She kept following me, leaving the cooking and all, and kept saying, "You want to read my chats with the aunt, right, and this and that," and I was not going to until she kept saying that, so I did, and to my horror found that my wife calls me ominous, ill-fated, bad luck to her aunt. The word she used in our language, different from her tribal language which I do not speak, is very intense, and also telling her that I'm a man baby and she has to take care of 2 children, and that I still haven't taken her shopping for our toddler's clothes for the festival. Reading this sparked something in me, seeing such insult when I have been trying my best to never say no to her for anything, making a point to ask others for money if needed, and never her because of previous experiences, and all the sacrifices I had made to try and give her and the toddler a comfortable life. It was at this point I told her to get out of the house, as I do not want to even see her or stay with her at all. She started arguing that this is her house and she will stay here. I told her to go her aunt's house since she was here. If there was no one I would not have kicked her out, so she went to her aunt's house, and since our toddler is so attached to the mom, told my wife to take the toddler with her. She packed lightly and left, and I'm here enraged, angry, and feeling betrayed. The aunt kept messaging me that what you did during night time is unacceptable, calling me names, and telling that she hasn't told her brothers about this yet, as my father-in-law is a nice person, but threatening me that if she tells her other brother, who is the leader of the tribe, then you will see what he will do. I didn't respond to the aunt. To summarize, I pay all the bills, utilities, groceries, etc. I'm in severe debt with no way of getting out. My wife's behavior seems like she just wants money and probably wants nothing to do with me, even more so now after our toddler was born. I do most of the house chores myself to not overburden my wife. I do not stay as in touch with my parents as my wife thinks I do, and thinks that they are the ones who rile me up against her, and that most of the money I have I am sending to them. In reality, I haven't sent them a single dime ever since I took back my salary control, and only sent them $100 once last year when an incident happened there, and my wife also knew about it when I told her. The post and timeline is all over the place, and I apologize for that as I'm mentally exhausted and don't know what to do. So, am I the a-hole for kicking my wife out for finding out how she talks about me behind my back? Love stories like this? Then make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe so you never miss what's coming next.